Hello, I'm James Helder and welcome to another pitch special. I'm quite fortunate enough to be joined by my esteemed guests. This time, it's the fans of Nottingham Forest. Firstly, I want to say congratulations before we go on to the introductions. Well done, lads. Great to see you back in the Premier League, firstly.
You Reds.
Like that. And we're joined today by Des, season ticket holder and regular panellist here on Pitch Football. We're also joined by new to the show, Jamie Martin. Great to have you with us, lad. You all right?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. How are you? It's great to be here.
It's good to get a young perspective on the show. I've got a little bit of time and energy for that. We're also joined by WBA Featherweight champion, none other than Leigh Wood. Great to have you with us, Leigh. How are you?
All good, mate. All good. Thank you.
Love that. Love that. So as I say, congratulations on the promotion, firstly. What was your reaction? I know you guys were all at the match. Talk me through it a little bit. I'm going to start initially with you, Leigh.
It was special. Obviously, to get tickets to the actual game was hard. Especially because I wanted to go with a few friends and I had to let a lot of people down. And everyone was thinking, are we even going to get tickets in the end? But we did. I went with a few friends and it was just unbelievable. The actual game wasn't really great to watch, but it was just about getting the win. And we did it. And unbelievable, mate. After the game, I never seen so many people cry, grown men cry. Was in the arena for probably half an hour, pushing on 45 minutes after the game. No one wanted to leave. Strong chants and the atmosphere was unbelievable. Literally a divide down half the stadium. And the left side was full for ages. And, just a special evening, and went to the box park after and people just didn't want to go in. It's incredible.
Yeah, big night for Forest. Des, what's your sort of memories of the season overall? What stands out? What was your standout moment?
I think when Steve Cooper came in, that changed everything, didn't it? We started off really, really poor. We picked up 1 point from 7 games. We couldn't envisage pushing on from the season before. We thought we was in for a long season, a relegation battle. And then Steve Cooper walked in the door and everything just changed straight away. It didn't take 2-3 weeks. At that point, we started performing. We started winning football matches. We went on long sort of unbeaten runs under Steve Cooper. And about sort of January, February time, a couple of really important away wins and big game wins, FA Cup wins as well. There was a game at Millwall that stands out and Derby at home. And then we played Arsenal and Leicester in the FA Cup. And it just felt like something special was happening. It felt like we was going to do something, not we might do something. And ultimately, as the season went on, there was a few sort of murmurs that we was going to run out of steam. And at times it might have looked it, but we always had 2 or 3 games in hand because of the FA Cup one. It gave us that sort of little buffer if we did drop a point or 2 here and there. And once we'd got in the playoffs, once we got to within reaching distance of second, that didn't quite materialise. I just thought it was always going to happen. It was just kind of that fairy tale sort of storyline in the end. And Wembley, like Leigh said, was absolutely incredible. It was a fantastic day. And I think the relief just came out at the end of the match. 23 years out of the Premier League and everybody, like Leigh says, grown men crying. It was just incredible. And looking back now, what a season. If you're going to do it, you wouldn't write it any different.
Often when you see a new manager come in, you get that new manager bounce and it drops off. Forest maintained form under Steve Cooper. They literally played football in the right way and got the wins. How satisfying, Jamie, is it that the board have got Steve in, done the job properly, and now you're comfortable looking at a first season back in the Premier League?
I mean, and I hate to say it, I didn't think that Steve Cooper would be much different to all the managers, because of the fact that we'd had, all that hope lost over the years and the heartbreak, and, really tough to kind of watch the team. But, when he came in, there was still that little element of hope. But it's obvious that the board had done their homework. They'd looked at his achievements at Swansea. Although he didn't get them to the Premier League, they were close. They knew what they wanted next season. They know what football they wanted to play. And they said, well, this is the right guy. It was between him and Chris Wilder, wasn't it? And they said, okay, let's get Steve Cooper in. And, for anybody to have thought, well, look at this team, they were rock bottom, to even remotely get near that top 10, bear in mind top 6 area, is absolutely unreal. You know, and in terms of the form and keeping that form for so long, I think there was probably an element of time where all of us were sat there thinking, how much longer can we do this for? You know, because you think, okay, we beat Arsenal, amazing. You know, the Leicester game was like, you just wouldn't have even, you couldn't believe it. And then for them to carry that on for months and months and months, you know, it's just unreal, the intensity that the players play at and train at, you know, and for Steve Cooper to remain calm as well throughout that time, it is just unreal. So the board did the homework. They knew who they wanted to play that football, and Steve Cooper was the right man. And he certainly defied my original prejudgments of him. So yeah, dreamland, absolute dreamland.
With promotion to the Premier League, what often happens is the squad that gets you there isn't quite often the squad that will compete in the Premier League for the club. This happens to be a massive transfer window for the club, for Steve Cooper. Got to get it right. Who out the names that you're linked with are you most excited about? Who do you think is going to come in? And I'm going to go to Des initially with this.
The one that really excites me, and I think Forest should go all out for, is Morgan Gibbs-White. We've watched him a lot in the Championship. We've had a few issues with strikers and being fit and sort of old number 10s and players who are match winners, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And I think with Zinchenko going to Olympiacos, there's no chance of us signing him now. So Gibbs-White, he just seems to have all the attributes to come straight into the team, fits in with the ethos of a young, vibrant, sort of full of energy, full of atmosphere type team. And it seems he's available for the right price. It seems like they can go out and get him. So I'd really like to see him. Nico Williams is another prospect, again, for exactly the same reason. It's almost like these players can slot straight in, but they will be an upgrade on what we've already got. And with loan players disappearing, it's an even bigger transfer window for Forest this season, because a lot of the players that got us promoted was actually loan signings. All of a sudden, they've become a victim of their own success. You know, the clubs that own them want more money because Steve Cooper's made them better players. He's made them promotion-winning players. So they seem to be turning attention elsewhere. They've kind of dropped the sentiment a little bit and looking for some players that are going to really sort of keep them in the Premier League first of all, and hopefully push on. And in 3 or 4 years, I can see them having a really good, solid, strong team what's pushing up the Premier League rather than looking down where we've been.
Forest have put bids in for Nico Williams so far. Liverpool have turned those bids down. So we're interested to see how that develops. One name that's been on my lips is Jed Spencer. What is going on with him? And we're going to come initially to James.
Seen it today. I've seen this today, James.
Leigh Wood, why you're live on it? What do you think? What's your thoughts?
I've seen this today. You know, I think there was it Middlesbrough not getting what they wanted. So thinking he was staying, there could be an offer there for Forest. I thought it was brilliant, but I do think if he goes to another club, I don't think they're going to get out of him what Cooper gets out of him. I really don't. I think it's the way he handles him, the way he deals with him, the personality is his character. You know, I think he knows how to get the best out of him. I think at another club, he may fall back to how he was before Forest. I've seen there's so much pressure on Forest, you know, going up to that playoffs, because if we didn't do it, like you said, we had all them lone players, and if we didn't do it, we'll be starting off in the Championship with no one. Like Spence would have gone Zinchenko. There's a few of us we had on loan. Like Forest would have been in a bad place. There's a lot of pressure on us to win and go up. Now we're there. Like I don't want to see all them players go because they work together well. Like Johnson and Spence. Like I thought it was a brilliant combination, and hopefully everything happens for a reason. And hopefully we can keep all the Spence, because I'd love to see him at Forest in the Premier League.
Do you think it's possible, Jamie? Do you think there's going to be sort of a chance of grabbing Spence next season?
I mean, if Spurs aren't willing to pay the 15 million and 10 million is their maximum bid, I'm sure that Forest equally probably can try and get the number a bit lower. Whether they go for 10 million, I don't think so. I think probably 13 million pound, 14 million is probably the lowest Middlesbrough would go, because we know that they want the 15 million. He's a top player. You know, as a team, we've got to see that, okay, yes, we want him for cheaper and Tottenham want him for cheaper, but you know, if we had a player like that that didn't want to play at the club, you'd want to get the most out of him, for a really, really top player that is Jed Spence. But I think going to Spurs is too big of a jump, to be honest. And I'm not saying that because I want to keep him at Forest. I just think that he's got a lot to learn. There were still things that he was doing in the Championship that weren't, 100% there yet. And I think Steve Cooper's the right coach, to bring that out of him. So, I still think he's got a few years worth of, experience needed and time being coached by Steve Cooper before he can reach that kind of level, maybe even with Forest, who knows. But, I think he's worth the money. I do think he's worth the money because there's potential there and there's already a high standard of football. So, yeah, I think Forest will get him, but whether it's for 15 million, I don't know. Maybe a bit lower.
Do you know what I was thinking about the other day, Leigh?
Well,
I was thinking about America, Carson in particular. Thinking of Kell Brook winning the IBF world title against Sean.
That was a great time. That was
thinking about
a great time.
Watching it, and then it hit me that you're now the main man. You're now in the spotlight. You've had that moment. Chances of bringing big fights to the City ground. Maybe the Leo Santa Cruz fight. Is that something?
I'm getting messed around a bit, I'm getting messed around by the WBA with the Leo Santa Cruz fight. They're just giving him too much time, and there's rumors that he may be allowed to unify. It's what boxing's like. But the Forest Ground fight is something that I want to. That's like my main goal. That's my biggest goal. That's what I want to do before I retire. So it's going to happen. 100% it's going to happen. But it might have to wait till next May with everything's happening at the ground. Just had the pitch done, and we're waiting for the WBA to order the fight. So this year is definitely, pretty much definitely ruled out. But next May looks very likely. I've just got to make sure it all lines up, and it's a fight big enough to warrant the ground because obviously it's got a big capacity compared to the arena. But just need to keep winning really, and it'll happen.
Do you feel like your support's grown within your own city now? Do you feel like people are really getting behind you?
Yeah, massively. Not just my city as well. Like I go to other cities sometimes. I think sometimes it gets a bit too much on a night out. When people have a drink and they're grabbing you and they're spitting down your ear. During the day, like people are sound. Like honestly, it's nice to be in my own city. You get recognised. Obviously, get recognised a lot more now. But night time, sometimes it can be a bit of a nightmare when people had a few pints. But sometimes I go to a different city out of the way, and like Birmingham or in the Midlands, and I get recognised as well, which is I didn't expect it, to be honest. So yeah, my fan base is growing massively, especially since America when you see me out there for Kel. But yeah, it's just down to keeping momentum as well. Like I don't want to go stale. So whilst I've got this big hype and I've come off some good wins, the British and then the world title and the defence, I want to keep that momentum going, keep the ball rolling, and keep my fan base growing, keep people in Nottingham, especially where my fan base is, to have something to look forward to.
What sort of names are you looking at for your next fight to keep the momentum going?
I think anyone in the top 10 really. So there's Navarrete, that's number one. Mark Marcel, there's Leo Santa Cruz. Josh Warrington would be probably, from a fan's point of view, number one. For me, I'd say Navarrete because he's the best. So you beat the best, you become the best. But yeah, Warrington, I think, is the fan favourite. It will make a great fight. The style clash would be great as well. He's like a volume puncher who can dig a bit. I'm a big puncher. I think the clash of styles would be incredible. And he said he was open to come to the City Ground. So maybe next May that can happen. But I think he's got a mandatory defence in probably before the end of the year. So everything seems like it's tied up. But boxing, mate, it can change very quickly. So we'll see what happens.
I appreciate that. While we're on big nights for the City Ground, how excited are you guys for the teams that are going to be visiting next season? Team of the crop of talent coming.
I think I might speak for these as well, but I've got a lot of friends. You're talking 20 years of Forest not having much to sing about. So I've got a lot of friends who are like Man U fans and that. Colin Glory supporters, whatever. Some of them, they got an excuse. Oh, my dad supports them, or someone else supports them. But it's going to be nice to have them big nights where Man U are coming down, Man City, all the big clubs, and especially the Divide My Friend group that support them. And it's like they probably thought that would never happen. They probably thought, oh, Forest are never going to get back up there. So them coming to the ground is going to be quite surreal. Like we've got Man U this weekend. Like it's going to be, it's quite frightening saying it. It's hard to believe, but it's going to be a good season. I can't wait.
Love that. There's realistic aspiration, goals, and targets for this year. How do you see Nottingham Forest getting on in their return season to the Premier League?
I think we'll do okay. I think, of course, being realistic, I don't think we're going to push the top 4 or the top 6, or maybe even the top half. But I think we'll hold our own. I think we'll surprise 1 or 2 teams. The intensity that we play with, that we tend to soak pressure and then hit teams very quickly. So it's a bit, what I'm trying to say there, it's a bit opportunist at times. And I think with the players we've got, Brennan Johnson, if there is someone like a Morgan Gibbs-White, we'll beat teams like in 5 minutes. That's what we were doing in the Championship. We'll just batter them, and eventually we score. And then we've got a really, really good defence to work from as well. So I think we'll surprise 1 or 2. I don't think we're going to get relegated. I really don't. I guess lots of teams, when they go up, think they're not going to go straight back down. We've seen what these players are capable of. But I spoke about that young, vibrant squad and that togetherness. And that's what Cooper's sort of moulded along with the chief executive, is a young team that's really hungry and eager to push forward, and that energy, that desire to win, it's shown through last season. I think it can take them a long way this season. The results we got against Premier League teams in the FA Cup, beating Arsenal, beating Leicester, just missing out to Liverpool. We had a chance 2 seconds before they scored to go 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go. So I think we've got more than enough. And of course, in over a regular season, teams are going to put out their strongest teams week in, week out. And in the FA Cup, it's slightly different. But you can only play what's in front of you. And that's all Steve Cooper's ever done. He's put a team out to win the football match in front of him. He talks about his desire to win football matches and keep attacking. And I think that's what they'll do. I think that's going to be our best form of defence, because some of these players that have got us there will fall by the wayside. That's what happens when a team gets promoted. And like Leigh said, I'd love to see as many of them sort of get a chance, at least get a chance. And then if we've got to sort of top up in future transfer windows, do that. But for this season, I think sort of we'll surprise a few. We'll comfortably stave off relegation, but we're not going to sort of be pushing on towards the European places either.
Do the team have to change their style of play to be successful in the Premier League, or to survive in the Premier League next season? Leigh, what are your thoughts?
You have to be adaptable, don't you, in the Premier League, because there's so much more. Well, there's so much more money for a start. So teams have got more money aside for things like studying. So if you're playing a certain style of play and you're beating teams, other teams have got the staff and then the know-how and the money to spend to analyse them games and say, you know what, this is what they're good at. They're looking at it in depth and detail and analysing every game. They might see a certain play, they might see a player that likes it from a certain side or a certain set play, you need to be able to change. And I think that's so important in the Premier League. You need to be able to change. You can't do the same thing all the time, because you get found out and other teams will make fast adjustments. You're talking about big teams, big academies, big staff. So I think that's going to be the most important thing, as Forest play these teams, we can't do the same thing all the time. We can't rely on individual players. We can't rely on the same thing. We need to adapt. We need to change. We need that little bit of creativity as well. And that's going to be probably the most important thing. And I think we've got that as a team. Cooper holds the team together. He makes them bounce off each other. So whichever players we're bringing new, they need to be able to be part of that as well.
Jamie, quite finally, how do you see Nottingham Forest getting on next season? Have they got enough about them in the squad to survive the first campaign?
Not yet. They haven't got that yet, because they're going to need to make signings first. It's great that we've got Awoniyi up front, and he's signed on and stuff, but they've got a lot of signings to make, because as we've said, they've lost 5 or 6 players, loan players, and there's going to be a couple outgoings, probably both keepers, Samba and Horvath are probably going to leave. So, you're losing a lot of players. But I think once they've got the squad, which I know they will, you're going to see Morgan Gibbs-White, maybe Maitland Miles at some point, Nico Williams, maybe Aribo from Rangers. There's a lot of players being linked. But, Forest are going to need 6 or 7 players I think realistically to have a good chance of staying in the league. But I think they will do it, as Des said. I think they will stave off relegation. I think, you know, it's easy for people to just go, well, they've just gone up, they're going to come straight back down. But, you know, I just think Steve Cooper, he knows what he's doing. He can adapt tactically, he can adapt. You know, he knows what players to put out. He knows other teams' weaknesses. They really do homework on other teams. You know, they go out, they just, you know, you saw it in the Sheffield United game as well. People trying to wind them up, they just don't fall for it. You know, holding them back, letting the other team go down the thing. That's, for me, it was just much more than that. It just says a lot about the team's ethos. You know, they're just there to win. You know, they're not there for anything else. You know, they're not interested. So I think they'll stay up, and I think they've got a good chance of doing it. I think they just need to build the squad now, and Dane Murphy and Steve Cooper, they know what they're doing. So all good luck to them.
Love that. Gentlemen, I've got to say, it's been a great pleasure to have you all here. Des and Jamie, thank you very much. Thank you to WBA World Champion Leigh Wood, flying the flag for his city. And got a lot of time for that, mate. Thank you ever so much. And I look forward to catching you guys as and when the season kicks off. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Love that.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.